it going, guys? Cameron here again. I'm gonna make another video right now that is another discussion, sort of opinion-based video that isn't directly a video response to anyone, but it's sort of inspired by Ball Nick 1982's most recent video saying video games are not that serious. And I watched his video, I enjoyed his video, I enjoy his content in general, and I'm not going to really respond specifically to what he was saying. It's more that what he was saying sort of got me thinking about a couple of other things. And in his video, he was talking about how he does not consider video games to be that serious, that it sort of irritates him and, sort of blows his mind that people spend so much time arguing and bitching and freaking out about things relating to video games when he first and foremost plays video games just to have fun and as a hobby. And I completely agree and understand with his point in regards to that to an extent. I game to relax. I game because it's fun. I game to be engaged. I game to be entertained. First and foremost, I use video games as a means by which to enjoy myself. So I'm not sitting here trying to argue that video games are the lifeblood of the universe. But the point I wanted to make in this video is I'm not really sure why in this day and age, and really for the longest time, video games have been considered something that couldn't be serious, quote unquote serious. I was a film major in college. I was a visual arts major with an emphasis in film and video. And while that certainly doesn't give me the license or the right to sit here and lecture to you guys about what art is, what art isn't, what it does mean is that I spent a lot of time in college studying the artistic merit of different types of media. From painting and sculpture all the way up through new media, film, video. And in all my studies and in all my time, enjoying media and gaming myself, I still don't quite understand why movies and music and television and other things like that are considered perfectly normal, fine hobbies to be revered and to take as seriously as you want. Yet as soon as you mention really being into video games, you're seen as some type of out of touch weirdo who is trying to find a different reality. And I just don't quite, I guess my experiences with video games for so long have always been these, for the most part, the types of games I typically am drawn to are these rich, powerful, engaging experiences. And it's harder and harder for me to sit kind of around and see people take in media that I consider very disposable. And yet, the people that are watching and idolizing the Kardashians and a bunch of reality TV, somehow doing those things are okay and normal, and you're perfectly well adjusted if you spend your time doing that. But if you spend your time gaming, somehow you're an outcast who needs to get their priorities straight and think more about the world. I would absolutely consider video games in their at their peak to be art, no questions asked. Getting into what defines what art is a conversation that could have us here all night. But video games at their best can be beautiful. They can be educating. They can be button pushing. They can be emotional. Video games conjure up all the thoughts and feelings and stir the same things in me that, good media of any type does. Being someone who's a film major who still loves movies, I can absolutely agree with the fact that movies at their highest art are cinema at its peak is absolutely art. But, why don't we revere video games the same way? I recently played Okami HD, and that game is absolutely, completely gorgeous. Like, a single still image of any second of that game could easily be considered a piece of, looked at in the same way you look at a painting. I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles right now, and the art design and the visuals in that game are just absolutely incredible. That game was designed and made by artists who possess the same level of skill and attention to detail that artists in any other field would. And yet, you point out an Oscar-nominated film to someone, and everyone will sit around, circle jerking about the artistry that went into it. But you mentioned you consider a video game to be high art, and people immediately assume you're some out of touch weirdo who is obsessed with some fantasy world. It's very, very weird to me. And the argument is often, well, video games aren't real life. You're playing video games to try to escape real life. They're not reflective of things in the real world. They're not, in the same way that I guess movies and TV are. But why, when things like WALL-E and Toy Story and, Frozen come out, they get, everyone and their brother seems to be talking about them, and they're rammed down your throat. And yet, when a video game, another animated, media type comes out, that can't be looked at the same way as any of those films. I just honestly do not get it. I'd be absolutely willing to bet that games like The Last of Us, which came out recently, the Metal Gear series, which I'm a huge fan of, the Final Fantasy series, all contain moments and narratives and storytelling that are, as powerful and as memorable as more memorable than the vast, vast, vast majority of films that come out. And of course, this is all subjective, but, when I look at lists online, and, this is a 20-year-old spoiler alert, but when I look at lists online and I see, Aeris's death in Final Fantasy VII still listed by a lot of sites as the most memorable moment in the history of video games, like, it's so hard for me to believe that that moment isn't just as valuable, as memorable, and as powerful as an overwhelming majority of movies and TV that are out there. That's a moment that millions of people remember vividly, that affected their enjoyment of video gaming, that affected their enjoyment of media, that, emotionally affected them probably. And yet, somehow that moment is still some insignificant, unimportant, nerdy thing, while people are watching reality TV and 8 trillion movie sequels or, anything else they're into, and those are all valid, valuable experiences. I know this is a bit of a rant, and it gets a little bit away from what Nick was talking about, but I guess the thesis of what I'm saying is, I consider video games to be art. When I'm playing video games, I'm not sitting there, I don't set aside 4 hours to bawl my eyes out and, encapsulate the universe in a single session of video gaming. What I'm saying is, I don't think video games are any more or less serious than any other art form or media type that you enjoy. I don't look at video games as being a lesser form of entertainment than other forms. I think there's some crappy, disposable, relatively valueless video games, and I think there's some incredibly valuable, seminal, and worthwhile video games that are just as important and would be just as inspirational and moving and beautiful to behold as other types of art. And it'd be really cool to see a day where you could talk about those things in those terms and not have people immediately assume you're some, social lifeless, experienceless virgin who, has never seen the world and only thinks video games are so great because that's all they know. It seems like nowadays people are so afraid of the term gamer because if you're calling yourself a gamer or someone acknowledges you as a gamer, it immediately conjures up this, this image of this despicable, nerdy loser. Whereas, I don't walk around calling myself a gamer. I'm just someone who enjoys video games the same way I enjoy movies or TV. But, I'm not hiding from that label. I don't see why that makes me less of a person or less cool or anything else. Video games aren't my life, but there's something I'm passionate about the same way I'm passionate about other things. So I just kind of wanted to get that out there because it seems like, with all the Gamergate crap and a bunch of videos I've seen recently, I kind of wanted to weigh in on, why is it that in this day and age we still don't hold video games up the way we do other media? Because there's some damn good, fucking awesome video games out there, and there have been for a long time, that deserve to be considered art the same way that other high art is. So, what do you think about that, you guys? check out next video. I'll post it in the links if you want to see. It's a bit different than this, but watching his inspired this. And then I'm going to get some more videos out soon. So thank you guys for watching again, and take care.